Anyhow, guys, lots of things happening in this week for XRP. Wow, we made it to Friday. I'll tell you, it was a wild ride this week. Lots of things going on. Some of the biggest things that have gone on, guys, this last week is that Canary Capital went out there and they have corrected their S1 filing for their XRP ETF. And so the clock has started ticking, and that XRP ETF is due to go live November 13th. So that's number one. Number two, I think that this whole shutdown is going to get resolved. I think it's going to get resolved in short order. Now, the reason I think it is the pressure that's being brought to bear with a lot of, these politicians. Come on, this is a dog and pony show for sure. But needless to say, all of these food banks around the country, reading an article on the Heads talking about how there is a mad dash rush, for these food banks. And I want you to think about something. 42 million Americans, guys, depend on food stamps. That is mind-numbing to just consider that 42 million Americans are depending on food stamps. That is crazy wild. That's more than the entire population of Canada. Did you get that? That is truly phenomenal. And yes, there's a big pressure on to get this whole deal done. And of course, they're all putting on the heat with one another. And you got some of these ridiculous demands that they are asking for in order to get going and stuff like that. And this is where it's just got to stop. Common sense has to eventually prevail, and I believe that it will. Now, when that happens and the shutdown's all over, some major things are probably going to fall. Now, one of the things could be that the SEC comes back in and they approve all of these XRP ETFs, and so they all go live month of November. But something else, as of today, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency is due to make a decision on granting, Ripple that banking license, that federal banking license, which would be amazing, guys. It would allow them to custody these assets for institutions in a big way. It would allow them to just do so many different things as a federally regulated bank. Big time deal and a major, major bonus, in this space, because of course, Ripple's been out there, as we know, just acquiring all kinds of infrastructure. Hidden Road, well, that was for, clearing. Got that done. It's now called Ripple Prime. G Treasury, got that out there for doing cross-border remittances with corporations. Big, big, big. Of course, they got the custody solutions, standard custodies, and Mataco, and that kind of stuff. And, when we see all these SPACs coming in and everything that's going on for XRP, it is wild, really wild. I think November is going to be a major bullish month for this ecosystem. I really do. And there's a lot of TA guys out there saying the very same thing. Yep, a lot. But one thing I will tell you that is truly wild is the emotional reaction that you see from people, even some people that are long-term heavy hitters in this space. So I was reading this tweet from BitLord, and he was so incensed that Solana got, this Western Union kind of deal there, and it didn't go to XRP, that he literally throwed out this tweet to Ripple saying, hey, I'm a big-time long-term holder of XRP. And how on earth did this happen that Solana got it when you guys were working with Western Union for 13 years? If you don't get back to me within 24 hours, I'm dumping all my XRP, the guy says. Then he comes out with a follow-up video. He says, oh, it's not as bad as I thought. Apparently it's only a 6 months contract with Western Union for Solana and all this and this. And of course, Ripple's gone out and made all these acquisitions, stuff like that. Guys, this is the psychological effect that it can have on people. They get your emotions just going bonkers, way, way, way like that. And then of course, something else happens and it's way down there like that and this kind of stuff. And everybody, is affected by it somehow, some way. The discipline, of course, is to not be reacting to it. See, we can't control all these actions that go out there, of course, but we can control our reactions to it. And that's where your confidence comes in. That's where, when you've gone out there and you've really built up that level of confidence that I love to talk about in XRP, You're not going to get shaken up by all that stuff. You're not going to get shaken up when the price drops down 50 cents. You're going to be like, whoa, 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 that's an opportunity for me. That's how you're going to look at it, because where are we going in the wide world? Now, this whole Western Union deal, because a lot of people brought it, oh, well, see, that's not a good thing. Look, I have never feared competition, and I would encourage you to never fear competition. Competition's the cure for complacency. I genuinely do believe that, because it caused people to innovate and to, that kind of thing, invent and innovate and move forward, because to make something better, stronger, and really get out there and compete. And Ripple, of course, is doing that. Now, I want you to think about this. The Western Union deal with Solana, guys, it's $100 billion over a year's time. Do you think that pales in comparison to the movement that G Treasury does, which is into the multi-billions and trillions of dollars? It is truly wild. And when you consider that, and so it really is not a big a dent in the armor as what a lot of people think. Not even close. And you've got major banks, and Brad Garlinghouse himself just came out this week and confirmed that you have major banks around the wide world like SBI Remit, like a whole bunch of other major banks, Santander, massively big bank, one of the top 5 in the wide world, utilizing XRP and the technology of the XRP ledger in cross-border remittances right now. That is what's going on. These are all partners, and the partners that have lined up for Ripple's technology, truly phenomenal. David Schwartz just recently came out and confirmed that Ripple can go out there and guess what? They can literally leverage the escrow and actually sell contracts in there. They got 1,700 non-disclosure agreements related to that escrow, which, by the way, we would have never found out if it wasn't for the lawsuit, and all that's going on. And it is truly amazing that people will let themselves get totally fudded out when you're seeing some of the biggest indicators of one of the most underappreciated, massive setups that there has ever been for any asset in any asset class. That's my personal 100% biased opinion. But guys, you look around and you present to me another opportunity as strong as what XRP is and Ripple in this marketplace right now. You can't do it. Cannot do it. Or at least I challenge you to do it. Drop it in the comments. You tell me which one you think holds as much promise in this new digital economy as what Ripple does. And I want you to consider something. Ripple XRP has never, and I mean never, not once, ever left the top 10 for market capitalization in the history of this digital asset space from the time they started tracking all of the various trades and stuff like that. Never, not once, never, ever has it lost, and no other asset other than Bitcoin can claim that. And yet we went through one of the most horrendous attacks on any digital asset in the existence of this digital asset space with that whole SEC lawsuit. Yet even during that entire time, it never lost the top 10 for market cap. Guys, that says something right there as far as I'm concerned. And that's even when XRP was down there at 38 cents. How about that? Or when Judy and I were buying it, 11, 12 cents, 17 to 19 cents. How about that? Still never ever lost, top